Hey guys, welcome back to the Ramble. I am, as always, your host Mereology Air. And I am in the middle of moving house. There's boxes everywhere, crates and crates of things. I am living in the realm of chaos and will do so for a month. It's terrible. Send help. This is Internet So Dangerous, Part 3. For many, many years, I have been a free citizen of the internet. Plenty of Nigerians have wanted to give me their money. Even more hot local singles from my area have wanted to give me access to their genitalia. These hot local singles have, oddly enough, always looked the same, no matter which area I currently resided in. It is a strange thing, but I have always assumed that they have been stalking me, given the raw animal magnetism of my invigoratingly intoxicating toxic masculinity. And the full, raw and awesome might, power, influence and sexual potency of my glorious beard makes me a prime target for hot local singles in my area. I have to make up for my lack of charisma and wealth in one way or other. Of course, hot local thots will thot no matter where they are. They do their best to keep the thought patrol busy, which is why I assume I periodically get private messages on various social media sites from thots, wanting to get to know me better, or wanting to sell me their cam show thingamajigger. Granted, it hasn't happened in a while now, presumably because I hardly use social media these days, but who the hell knows. And I would be curious to know whether or not these types of women, the thots who shamelessly insert themselves, poorly covered tits and all, into a man's private messages, are engaging in sexual harassment. Guys doing the same to the women of the internet undoubtedly are. After all, if a dude is not handsome or wealthy enough, he is engaging in sexual harassment and other vile misogynistic behavior if he tiptoes up to a woman and attempts flirting. Or just says hello. I once did a horrible thing of complimenting a woman on her hair and received a full lecture about how she was married and not interested in blah-de-blah-de-blah. And I informed her that so was I, thank you very much, and I am not interested in fornicating with you, nor with your bloated sense of self-esteem. One would assume that merely complimenting someone on their hair, and it was very nice hair, a particularly nice hairdo, should not be enough of a trespass to warrant such a reaction, but there you have it. Not every guy wants to get in your pants, lady. Granted, this is a minuscule thing, but it does tell us something about her view of men in general, and herself in particular. And I have learned my lesson, of course, and I will no longer compliment any woman on anything, lest I be accused of this or that or the other, though of course, this is also wrong. Now, reverse the genders on this, and it would be an interesting scenario without a doubt. Those in the know do know what I am talking about, and those who are not in the know will be severely offended, but I will state it outright anyway. Women, in general, do not handle rejection very well. And why should they? Women are the gatekeepers of sex. Men seek sex, women give sex. Generally speaking, of course. And so when a woman is sexually interested in a man, he damned well ought to be grateful, fall to his knees and thank the heavens for sudden access to pussy. If he does not, there must be something wrong with him. He must be gay, he must be impotent, he must be all of that with a slice of fresh-faced and freshly fucked apple pie. Us guys do tend to be far too thirsty for our own damned good. This is not something new. In being this, we accept a whole lot of stuff which it is completely unreasonable to expect we should accept for access to pussy. Couple this with guys usually being the initiators of sex, romance, dating and all that other jazz, and women being the recipients of such acts and interests, and you have an army of men used to being rejected time and again, as well as an army of women not used to being rejected. So when a woman's sexual advances are rejected, chances are she has hardly ever experienced it before. And so there must be something wrong with the guy not being interested, not her. Her actions following a rejection is not graceful. Which makes it very interesting to hear the feminist hive mind claim that men are dangerous and frightening when rejected, and women are terrified of saying no. Which, incidentally, may explain why consent can be revoked at any point in time, even ages after a sexual encounter. After all, women are terrified of saying no, so they cannot possibly say no, or say yes. In fact, women cannot possibly give any manner of meaningful consent according to the feminist hive mind. All heterosexual sex is rape, no matter what, you know. It is, yet again, pure psychological projection, I believe. I would act like this when rejected. So of course a guy would, and men are dangerous, whereas women are not. Come to think of it, there is the possibility that all the thought accounts with their alluring promises of one-on-one camgirl shenanigans may very well be sock accounts. Some nefarious phishing scheme from the muddiest shores of internet depravity and degeneracy. Which is why it would be wise, one assumes, to ask for pictures to positively identify the account as being, in fact, what they claim themselves to be. The internet is big, and full of dangers, and so telling them that you must have pictures to prove your statements would be a wise course of action. At the very least, one might get free wanking material out of the whole kerfluffle, with the added bonus of being able to report the accounts for sexual harassment or something along those lines, should one feel in a particularly naughty and spiteful mood. Given the prevalence of freely available pornography on the internet, however, I fail to see why one should fall for the alluring whispers from such accounts from strange women, but there you have it. There's so much pornography on the internet of the most perverse, obscene and degenerate sort that just about every taste, no matter how particular, ought to be catered to, free and easy. Personally, I always found forums where people share their favourite porn whatevers to be slightly off-putting and strange. Though of course, this is just my own reservations floating to the top of my keyboard. I just don't find the thought of sharing wanking material with random strangers particularly titillating. Of course, it is not beyond the realm of possibilities that a lot of people just lurk in these forums, never posting, just clicking play and getting on with the dirty deed of the day. There will always be silent lurkers on forums. Much like myself, though I admit I don't hang around porn forums all that much. I tend to lurk in debate forums, reading and silently judging, yet seldom debating. It is a strange addiction. I must always lurk more. It is never enough. My mental taste buds need to be stimulated. My brain needs a spark. I am a social observer in a way. Well, more of an anti-social observer, I suppose. There's one thing, in regards to pornography, which I have observed and am fairly certain of. People tend to inflate both the value and the danger of pornography consumption overmuch. At the end of the day, pornography really is nothing but masturbatory aid, and that, I believe, is what it will remain to the vast majority of people. 5 quick minutes in the morning or whenever one has got 5 quick minutes at hand to rub one out. Of course, there are dangers with pornography addiction as there is with just about any addiction, and getting desensitized through overexposure is a thing. As far as I have understood it, pornography addiction is more of an outlier than it is a norm. And also, it appears to be very difficult to state anything with certainty regarding both the consumption of and addiction to pornography. See link below. And calling for banning all pornography, as feminism is known to do, seems very silly to me. Of interest here is, of course, that the proposed ban on pornography is exclusive to pornography enjoyed by straight men. Pornography enjoyed by women is, as are all things female-centric, no problem whatsoever, excepting where 50 Shades of Grey is concerned for some strange and peculiar reason, see link below. Of course, feminism also wants to ban sex bots for objectifying women, which is kind of ridiculous when considering that it is not objectifying women, but humanizing an object. But of course, it is something that would bring pleasure to men, and so it must be outlawed. The same goes for fleshlights, and this is really strange and peculiar, given the incredible amount of sex toys that are available to women. Far more than is, or ever will be, available to men. Women using sex toys are liberated and free and all that other stuff, whereas men who use sex toys are sad and lonely creeps who can't get laid. This does appear to be the general view of things. The reason I find the notion of outlawing and banning pornography stupid is a very simple, possibly even naive one. There have always been, and always will be, pornography in some way, shape or form. It is, like it or not, part of human sexuality. And I don't believe human sexuality, weird and confusing as it is going anywhere anytime soon. Despite completely absurd calls to banish heterosexuality to the land of ghosts and spirits, see the link below, I doubt that human reproduction will disappear anytime soon. In spite of the cries and tears and calamity from the latter-day Puritans, if something simply exists, there is porn of it, with absolutely no exceptions. If no porn is found at the moment, it will be made, post-haste. That is just the will and whimsy of the internet. There will always be a certain level of degeneracy in even the most decent, the most vanilla, the most down-to-earth and regular human being. And on the internet, it comes out in full fucking force. There will always be more fucked up shit than what you just saw. Something will always and ever top whatever you believe is the nastiest thing you've seen. Trying to outlaw pornography is pissing into the wind whilst trying to divide by zero. You cannot divide by zero, and pissing into the wind is utter stupidity. And probably degenerate deviancy, if one is so inclined. Somewhere, someone is fapping to it. For this is the internet. All rules of conduct go out the window. All civility evaporates. No real limits of any kind apply here. Not even the sky. The internet is dark, deep and dangerous. It is filled with trolls and terrors beyond human imagination. It is filled with despair, desperation, depravity and dastardly discussions where people yell with caps lock to get their point across. For you see, caps lock is cruise control for cool, and liberal use of caps lock in discussion is the best way one can go about being taken seriously, in all honesty. Yet people who engage in this behavior forget one crucial thing. Even with cruise control, you still have to stare. Though, admittedly, some people just talk loudly and yell incoherently in real life as well, in order to make their voice heard over all other voices. Even when they have nothing of any substance, truth or whatever to say. Quite a lot of people actually. It does not matter what one has to say. What matters is that one is heard, apparently. Forgetting the golden rule of conversations, which is more or less this. It is better to keep one's mouth shut and be thought a fool, than it is to open it and remove all doubt. Most people, myself included, would do well to remember this. I have also observed this strange obsession, one would almost say fetishization, of all things Japanese on the internet. I never quite understood it myself, besides a natural curiosity for a foreign culture which is exotic and relatively unknown, of course. It tickles me quite a lot that there is a not small amount of Japanese people who may, for lack of a better word, be referred to as Europhiles. So we've got Western people being Japanophiles and Japanese people being Europhiles. One assumes for more or less the same reasons. And it makes me think that the world is a marvellous and wondrous place, even when it is perverted, twisted and malformed by the forces of the internet declaring war on all that is good and decent and noble and true, like language, for example. Disu isn't funny. Seriously, guys. It's worse than Chuck Norris jokes. And even one positive comment about Japanese things can make you a weeaboo, apparently. This is also a terrible thing. It's not all that weird that people are fascinated and intrigued by foreign cultures. What is a bit bothersome is that one has lived and breathed one's own culture to such an extent that one takes it for granted, is bored with it and goes about trying to ruin it, perceiving it and being so used to it as being boring and as having no value when compared to other, more exotic, more unknown cultures. A fish will not miss the water until it is removed from the water and realizes just how precious and important the water is to him. When one lives and breathes something, it is hard to see it as something special and precious, and so it does not matter if it is destroyed or broken beyond repair. It is, after all, nothing special. And nothing is sacred. Not even one's own culture, not even simple words, not even simple language. Any word, any sentence, anything will be ruined and destroyed. Just add phobia to the end of anything, and you've got yourself a good old-fashioned shutdown, put-down trump card to be used against any so-called bigot you may encounter on your travels through the internet. The word phobia is, in this instance, sponsored by the proud people over a Tumblr alongside your regular run-of-the-mill academic social justice discipline. Nothing is sacred. The more beautiful and pure a thing is, the more satisfying it is to corrupt it. Everything must be torn down, must be ruined and destroyed according to the short-sighted hair-triggered triggeratis who believe themselves to be the arbiters and guardians of morality. The ones to decide what is or is not allowed speech. Freedom of speech, freedom of expression, for example, are noble ideas, pure and beautiful things. And this thing is being constantly assaulted, besieged, attacked by rampaging, roaring sheep in the guise of lions, following the leader of the pack who would demand complete control over what is and what is not the correct opinion to hold, the correct thought to think, the correct speech to speak. And I am completely aware that I am obsessing a bit on the topic of free speech, but it is the most important right there is. and it is under attack from PC mobs and government goons who claim that they are, of course, not opposed to freedom of speech and freedom of expression, but one should not be allowed to say this thing or express that thing. Which sounds very self-contradictory to me, but what the hell do I know, right? It is rather a terrifying thing when a group of people sit down to discuss what one should and should not be allowed to speak in a nation where one supposedly has freedom of speech. In Norway, the Grand Government recently announced a Freedom of Speech Committee, who are, as I understand it, a committee of 18 people. 18. A think tank, who are supposed to sit down and figure out what people should or should not say. I would propose that there is no true freedom of speech when there are limitations to what one is allowed to speak. This seems obvious to me. The world, the internet, the culture, our societies, our everything is in the grip of politically correct tyranny. There are lions at the door and in our governments and in our streets tearing our tongues from our throats, our fingers from our hands, our arms from our shoulders and our shoulders from their sockets. And the old apologetics will pop up and state that you have nothing to fear if you have nothing to hide, never seeing that what one does not need to hide today may very well be necessary to hide tomorrow. Now, of course, complaining about the tyranny of political correctness gets you labelled a conspiracy theory nutcase, or an uneducated simpleton and various and sundry. The very idea that someone might actually believe that everyone, even those one disagree with, should not have the right to express their ideas taken away is a heretical idea. At the end of the day, freedom of speech is there to protect people's right to express unpopular opinions. Popular opinions do not need to be protected in that way for the very simple reason that they are popular opinions. When one is only allowed to express popular opinions, the laws of the land are broken. If one objects, one is shamed for protecting hateful rhetoric or hate speech or whatever. To which I can only state that, yes, I do. I will defend, to my dying day, everyone's freedom to state their opinions and to express their ideas. When the tyranny of political correctness reaches a point where the National Health Services, in England in this case of course, though I fear more may follow, may refuse treatment based on people's sexist or racist opinion, or rather based on someone's subjective interpretation of someone's sexist and racist opinions, there is no diversity of thought left, no freedom to think or to choose left. Particularly so when racism and sexism has come to mean anything, everything and nothing all at once. The current cultural zeitgeist allows for any expression of anything to be dubbed racist, to be labelled sexist. It is all in the eye of the beholder, and original intent be damned. What we have here, seeing as the healthcare in Great Britain is state-funded, is the government refusing healthcare to people whom they have decided are undesirable. This is absolutely terrifying. And people cheer and celebrate, never thinking beyond an absolutely misguided notion of altruism, claiming that this is the road to walk towards equal treatment of one and all. By denying one and all equal treatment, we shall acquire equal treatment, linked below. There is only the roaring lion of tyranny, demanding subservience, obedience and conformity. If one doctor or nurse or whatever in this healthcare system is in a bad mood, has a bad day, has whatever or whatnot crawling up their ass, how can one trust them to not take this out on their patients by deciding that the patients are being racist, are being sexist, are being whatever and whatnot? How can one believe that refusing healthcare to someone based on the subjective feelings of someone else is a just society? It does not create a society in which everyone is treated equally. It is creating a system and a society in which conformity of thought, of conduct, of opinion and of speech is forced under pain of death. I am reminded once again of Alan Watts, who stated simply that a free and easy society loves an outsider. Western civilization is demanding conformity, more and more for each passing day. It does not make for a free and easy society. It makes for a prison. Healthcare is a human right, say the same people who also believe it to be a mark of severe justice that one can be refused treatment for having the wrong opinion, for being racist, for being sexist, for being whatever phobic. I don't know whether to laugh or to cry. And the lions of tyranny roar with laughter as everyone except themselves are this, that and the otherist, and so not deserving of the same things they are deserving of. Elitism and aristocracy are back in vogue. Moral elitism. Moral aristocratic piss-pots who believe they know better than you what is good for you, who believe they know better than you what you really think, believe, say and do. When one sees a lion, One must get into the car and get the fuck out of there. Leave the whole thing behind. Watch it burn from a safe distance. Watch it eat itself from a safe distance. Watch it disappear into ash and smouldering ruins from the frail and frantic forces of internet slacktivists who never once thought about the implications of whatever misguided notion of altruism they wanted to push forward into the folds and flabby hands of a society besieged by poorly implemented social justice. All through the might and influence of keyboard warriors who storm with offense foam at their mouths and at the tips of their fingers from whatever imbecilic thing they deemed offensive and in poor taste in this day and age of the permanently diaper-wearing offended. They cheer tyranny and label it liberty. They roar with jubilations and salutations at injustice, dubbing it justice. And we who object, we who protest, we who consider tyranny, who consider forced conformity of thought, speech, action to be a negative, are dismissed as privileged angry white men, as misogynistic racists, fascists, Nazis and whatever and whatnot. For any true fascist, any true Nazi, puts unchallenged freedom of speech and expression high in their value system, of course. The only solace left to us poor pitiful plebs, us dangerous and misogynistic internet trolls, is to make memes and to ridicule, to take solace in the fact that there is always furry porn of it. The clown pill is real, as is the clown world. Honk, fucking honk, you bastards. Laugh, drink and be merry. Until we get banned. Until we realize that, for us, the pool is always closed. And that would be that for this ramble. I hope you enjoyed it. Please take a look at the links down below should you wish to support the channel by purchasing my art or my books. And I'll catch you next time. This is my Rheology here, signing off.